Good night. No. Honor, on behalf of the government and great people of Anambra State, to hereby inaugurate the AWO to constitute a panel of a public inquiry on the collapsed buildings at Odu Igbo in Ochanja, as well as the Centenary Building at the Chinese Memorial Grammar School, Onisha. You are hereby inaugurated. Just a few remarks. You may now be seated. So, the panel is hereby inaugurated, and you are who is the chairman of the monitoring committee of Koren in Anambra State here as the chairman. And if you notice something about this panel is made up of the state chairman of the various chapters of various professional bodies in Nigeria. You are not appointed by name. You are appointed by the office that you have. And that is to demonstrate the importance that we attach to this particular public inquiry. We want professionalism at the highest order. And that's why we've assembled all the chairmen of the state chapters of all the relevant bodies. And this panel is chaired by Koren. The next you have the Institute of Architects, the chairman of the state chapter of Nigerian Institute of Town Planners, the chairman of the state chapter of Nigerian Institute of Quantity Surveyors, the chairman of the state chapter of Nigerian Institute of Builders, now the MD CEO of the Anambra Material Testing Laboratory, and of course the secretary to the panel is the permanent secretary in the Ministry of Housing. You can see the composition of this. You couldn't get anyone better. That tells you the importance we attach to this particular panel of inquiry. This building collapses happened to be just, the last one too many. When the Odu Igbo one collapsed, a set of buildings, it was quite a calamity. And now to see the 5-story building, Centenary Building, also collapsed. And I was informed several of the other buildings, some other buildings are in very bad state. Accidents waiting to happen. And we need to get to the root of this matter. We can no longer tolerate these building collapses in Anambra. We must put in the relevant standards. We need to get to the bottom of these matters. Why do they collapse? Who dropped the ball? Or what changes do we need to make? Whether it's in our legal, regulatory, or enforcement mechanisms, institutions, and the involvement of the professionals. Here you are, state chairman of the various professional bodies. There's no better qualified team than you to get to the bottom of this matter and ensure that from your recommendations that we will be able to say never again in Anambra State. Never again in Anambra State. And we're going to take your recommendations very, very seriously. And I can assure you, we're looking forward to this. Anambra State is looking forward to this. And I will even dare to say that Nigeria will benefit immensely from the work of this particular panel, because this is the best that we can find. Nobody is serving here in personal capacity. You are representing your institutions. And therefore you bring to bear in this panel the professionalism that your various professional bodies represent. Demonstrate that and give us the best, and then we get on to work. We can't tolerate anything but first class in your output and recommendation. Thank you very much. You can see this panel was set up yesterday. and inauguration just within 24 hours. That tells you the importance we attach to it, and we're looking forward to your work. You are given 28 days or 4 weeks, but we actually expect if you can deliver much earlier than that, because we want to get to work. Get on to have a comprehensive investigation into the collapse of the lock-up shops at Odu Igbo and at the DMGS in our nation. And comprehensive, and to make their findings and recommendations will become basis for us to effect some corrective actions and policy reforms, as well as enhancing building safety in the state. Now, on the specific terms of reference is quite a long one. First is the costs. What cost this? Identify the immediate and underlying causes of the collapse of lock-up shops at Odu Igbo, Ochanja, and the Centenary Building at Dennis Memorial Grammar School on Nation. This includes the structural, the design, construction, and maintenance factors that may be responsible. Assess the role of relevant authorities, including regulatory bodies and local government agencies, in monitoring and enforcing building codes and safety standards. On the review of compliance, for you to evaluate the extent to which the construction and maintenance of the buildings comply with the existing building codes, regulations, and industry standards. To examine any deviation from approved plans and specifications during the construction process. On responsibility and accountability, we'd like the panel to determine the accountability of individuals, organizations, or entities involved in the design, construction, maintenance, and the inspection of the buildings. Identify any negligence, misconduct, corruption that may have contributed to the collapses. The victim impact assessment, for you to assess the impact of the building collapses on affected individuals, families, and communities, including loss of life, injuries, displacement, and economic consequences. I recommend measures to support or compensate the victims and their families by whoever is culpable on this. Preventive measures, propose actionable recommendations to prevent similar incidents in the future, focusing on strengthening building inspection processes, regulatory oversight, and enforcement mechanisms. Whatever the improvement that we need, construction practices, material testing, and quality assurance protocols. And the last is the legal and regulatory reforms for you to review existing laws, regulations, and policies related to building, construction, and safety. I recommend legislative and regulatory reform to enhance accountability, transparency, and effectiveness in ensuring building safety standards. That's, in a nutshell, the summary of the terms of reference for this onerous task that you have. And with this, like I said, the recommendations that flow from this inquiry will really be of great interest not only to Anambra State. I want to dare to say that even Nigeria will benefit from your work, given the degree of, assemblage heads of all relevant professional bodies here in Anambra State. So, once more, thanks very much. Your deadline is 4 weeks, so 28 days are the maximum. But if you can deliver much earlier, the better. I think the Office of the Secretary to Government, Office of the Secretary to the State Government will provide you with all necessary assistance in terms of facilitating your meetings as well and relevant logistics.
Members, very distinguished members of this panel, express our heartfelt gratitude for finding us worthy to serve in this capacity. We understand the sacred sanctity of this assignment to this administration. I want to reassure you of our commitment. The panel will be diligent and meticulous in unraveling the cause and then make fantastic recommendations that the government will find judiciously and well articulate for the benefit of Anambra and the entire Nigerians. Once more, Your Excellency, we thank you for these great opportunities of serving the Anambra. I will not disappoint you. 28 days is small, but we'll see what we can do because of the nature of the two collapse building. But we can always come back to you for a session of time if you need be. Thank you very much. Thank you, sir. May God bless you.
Are we okay? I haven't done.